Hello, Errichto here, and LeetCode problem for today is valid parenthesis string. I don't know if it will be just to check if a string is valid parenthesis sequence. Let's see. If yes, then it's easy. Quick warning, don't treat this video as something you should learn from. I struggled a lot, and for first 10 to 15 minutes I just blindly tried to get accepted without really understand what should be done. Given a string, write a function to check whether the string is valid. We define the valid string by these rules. I'm not going to go through them all. If you want to learn well what this is, I think I need to just make another long video, lecture style video, to explain that. Why is this true? Oh, a star could be treated as a single right parenthesis or a single left parenthesis or an empty string. Okay, then. So short introduction of what is a valid bracket sequence. If you can pair up this sequence or like insert terms like a plus b plus c plus d, so that all of that would be valid mathematical equation. Like this is valid, because the number of opening and closing brackets is equal and they can be paired, like such that opening, then something inside, then closing. But now we have a star, it could be treated as this or that. That might be interesting. Normally, we check the following. If ever the number of opening brackets is bigger than the number of closing brackets, like open, open, close, 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 this is already bad. So if ever balance the difference opened minus closed, balance is equal to that. If this value goes below 0 for any prefix, as we go from left to right, we keep that balance initially 0. If it goes below 0, it's bad. And if at the end it's not 0, it's bad as well. Sometimes this is treated as opening bracket is +1, closing is -1. In the future I will make a longer lecture on this. But there are now also stars somewhere, and we need to decide about them. I would say that maybe for every prefix I will know what is the balance. Like one question, can I greedily decide about stars? I don't think so, because let's make it bigger. There might be some beginning, like open, open, now a star, and without knowing what happens later, I cannot decide about the star. Because if there are 3 closing brackets after a moment, then the star, it's needed to be open bracket. If it's like this, then the star must be closing bracket. So for sure, this cannot be greedy. Maybe sometimes we store open brackets in a stack, but I don't see a point in that. I think only balance will be enough to keep. What about keeping balance and keeping the number of stars? Let's try that. Stars is 0. Maybe this is a very hard problem. As I'm coding, I'm thinking about the solution. For every character, and it's not necessary. For every character in S, if it's an opening brackets, then balance ++. Else if closing brackets, balance -, and here sometimes we must say impossible. Else maybe the number of stars ++. But also here, if balance became negative, from 0 it got to -1. If stars greater than 0, then one of stars, not stars, one of stars I will turn into opening bracket to match with this one. I turn one star into opening bracket. Else, impossible. Return false. I need to return true if the string is good. return false. What else? At the end there is some balanced, and let's say balance is 2 and balance is 4 and number of stars is 10. Can I put everything correctly here? Yes, I need to get balance down to 0. So I will change 4 stars into closing brackets. Then the number of stars will be 6. And those will be like open, close, open, close, open, close. That shouldn't make anything but with balance. But the remaining question is when I see this. So I need to turn some stars into closing brackets. Can I cause some previous balance to be negative? What if this happens? Open, star, 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 star. Then things happen. This is the whole input string with some suffix here, but the whole balance turned out to be 4. The number of stars was 10. I never needed to, let's say, turn stars into opening brackets like that. Then if I change those stars into closing brackets, that's bad. Maybe I can say the rightmost. Oh, that's bad as well. What if this is... Yeah, what if this is the input? I should say impossible. Maybe I can go also from right to left. I'm stuck. I'm stuck, to be honest. Currently, I would guess that maybe I can go from left to right, simulate that, also check at the end this balance and stars. First of all, I can do this to check for parity. If the length is odd, return false. Like that. And then here I would say at the end, if balance is 4 and stars is 2, then I cannot get balance down to 0. Balance greater than stars, turn false. And my first idea is this. Repeat 2 times. Do that, all of this, and then reverse the string to repeat the algorithm. And then if it never failed, then return false, return true. This is to fix a case like that. Does it work? I have no idea. Your answer false, expected true, something is wrong. Let's read the code. Repeat twice. Balance and stars. If opening, no, everything is fine. If opening 10 plus plus, else minus minus, this shouldn't happen. Balance should be 0. Why did I return false? Can I hear you cout or something like that? Run code again. I'm debugging. Just want to print. What happens? Do I need 2 repetitions? 0 was printed, 1 was printed. So in the second repetition, when I reverse, I should also flip the state of brackets. Like this reversed should be the same. Well, I do it into closing, opening. Reverse isn't just this. If it's bracket like that, I don't know. I don't like automatic bracket closing in LeetCode. Then it's closing bracket. This is opening. The point is, and by reference to actually modify the characters from a string, the point is, if this is the input, then I want to modify into looking from the right, it should be opening, then closing, closing. I should get this, and now it will happen. Compilation error. I will submit this, but even if I get accepted, I will later think about it. Or empty string. Or empty string. So I don't need this. This is not correct. If there are no stars, let's think. If there are no stars, then it still must be even. So if balance greater than stars, I cannot fix that. Cool. If stars equal 0, I can just make an if for that at the beginning, maybe. Seems odd. Maybe let's kind of simulate it more. Well, balance is greater than 0. I need to put some closing brackets. If I have stars, I will change them into closing brackets. If stars smaller than 0, stars greater than 0, then change one star into a closing bracket to decrease the balance. Else, if there are no stars, return false. After this is fixed, now after this balance is equal to 0, is that all right? If no balance is 0, let's think, what are cases where something is bad? If I had opening bracket, I think it's all right. We can have some remaining brackets, remaining stars, but I can change them into empty characters. But it's still a wild guess that reversing is enough. Yeah, so maybe this is such an example. Output false, expected true. Oh, I didn't expect that. Sometimes I say false even though I shouldn't. One of my return falses is unnecessary. I can easily check which one. Let's call them print ABC. Then this return false. Here, let's say DF. I could put more meaningful names. ABC happened. This. Balance was greater than 0 and I was out of stars. Do I have some bug in my implementation? If opening bracket, increase the balance. If closing bracket, if closing bracket, then I do that to fix the balance. By doing this, I say, oh, I opened a bracket before. That was just a mistake in, not logic in what I implemented. Accepted, but I still don't know why. What I did is I will think about it and get back to you. Maybe with some drawings. Maybe I will check out the discussion forum. If it's easy, then I don't see it. So I'll be back. Okay, it's now a few hours later and I understand everything, I hope. I know why my code was correct and how to do it easier. Actually, I also know from the official analysis editorial that string size is up to 100 here, so one of intended solutions was DP. And actually I got so used to previous problems in this 30-day challenge that I didn't even consider that, because most of the time it was just limits didn't matter anyway, there was a linear solution. But I'm not going to talk about that today, because of n is possible with constant space. So let's think what my solution does. Even more, I will say that this is not necessary, first of all. Like with this, I wanted to care about cases like, let's say, open, open, close, where the parity doesn't match. When we have enough opening all the time, as we go from left to right, we never get to balance below 0, but at the end it's not 0. But when we go back from right to left, then we will detect that we will get below 0. So one possibility to check if such a string is valid parenthesis string is to go from left to right, check if balance never goes below 0. If we say +1 for opening bracket and -1 for closing one, and at the end there must be 0, balance equal to 0, either that, or go from left to right and balance should never go below 0, and go from right to left and balance should never go below 0. That's also enough. So this is not needed. I will remove that. And also this in some way is equal to the following. Stars, there are always enough stars to get balance above 0, well, at least 0. So every star can save you from going below 0, so every star can be treated as an opening bracket. So equivalently, I can change all of this to just for every character in S, if this is opening bracket or it's a star, then balance ++, else it's a closing bracket, so the only possibility, and if balance is -1, then return false. It's that easy. So I don't need to count stars, because stars, they just help me to stay with level at least 0, and that's it. So that's equivalent. Also, this can be now done easier, because instead of doing all of that, I can then single for loop like that and the other like this. So let's see how code will be even easier. But in a moment, I explain why this is enough. Some drawing of a graph of +-1. It's often done in hard string parentheses problems. Balance is 0 for every character in S, or just like that, and I++. If it's opening bracket or a star, balance ++. Else if minus balance, this will first decrease the balance and then give you a value. So if this becomes -1, return false. This is as we go from left to right, and then we can do the same from right to left. But this time from n-1 to 0. If s of I moving from right, closing bracket, it means to open a pair. Or again this. I could copy paste, maybe. It would be slightly easier. Else if minus balance is -1, return false. Remove everything else. And that's still equivalent thing. Compilation error, line 23, I didn't return anything. If I didn't detect an issue, return true. Accepted. So why is it correct? Let's say that the input corresponds to this graph. So what is this graph? It represents a string open, open, close, close, and so on. Starting from, let's say, level 0, I think I should draw a line something like this. This is level 0, more or less, I hope. And when you go, this is level 1, this is level 2, and so on. Opening bracket means balance goes +1. This is every index. Closing bracket, it means -1. Go below 0, it's bad. And if you look at brackets from the input without stars, then it creates some graph. In particular, sometimes we go below 0. This will be the first such moment, this will be second such moment. Like here you need to fix that. So you're looking for some star before that, and you say, oh, this is opening bracket. So everything from this start, from this star to this moment, it will be lifted up by 1. So this graph would become so like this. Here we get extra +1 from a star, and this is how it looks now. I think. And everything is shifted +1 because you added +1 somewhere. So every prefix sum, because balance is prefix sum, goes +1 from this moment. This is second such moment. But after that, if you fix that to be here, then by applying this graph to the end, you will never go below 0 if this was minimum. This minimum is very, very important point. Before that, you needed to use some number of stars, or change them to opening brackets, to get this balance from -2 to 0. And actually, if you look from the right, let's say I'm doing that with red, doing that from the right, from this, oh, here we go to something, this corresponds to closing brackets. No, this corresponds to opening bracket because this goes up. But if you look from the right, this is a bad situation. This cannot be paired with anything. And this corresponds to the fact that if now this is level 0, we go below it here, so already we need to fix. We need to immediately fix, change some star here to, looking from the right, it's opening bracket, but it's like this one. And then it will shift everything by 1, like this. And so on. So this, the same thing from the right. I don't want to get back, never mind. The same thing from the right, and stars will be changed into brackets that help us with balance till this position. This is the worst position for us. Up to this moment, because this is, I think, -5 compared to this relative 0. This is -5 for us with respect to this line. We will use 5 stars to change them into brackets that will help us. So those will be brackets like that. They will shift the graph up. And on the left, we wanted to change some on the left from this minimum point to opening brackets. So those are two independent things. They don't collide with each other. It's not that we want to change the same star into both types of brackets. Opening brackets on the left help us, closing brackets on the right help us. So we try to create them. And every other not used star we skip. Like we change that into empty character. Maybe let's see some example of what would happen. This should be a quite easy example. Starting from 0, we go up, then we go down, down. That's bad, by the way. We shouldn't go below this level 0. This is level 0. And this was down, then we go up, up for that, then again up. This is not a correct bracket sequence, but we'll try to fix that with stars. When going from left, here we go to 0. So instead, when being here, I see balance is getting below 0. So I take any star so far, it's this one, and I change this into opening bracket, into +1. So even before this star, we get an extra +1 here for this star, and the rest of the graph is shifted like that. This is a new graph. I'm removing the old one. Now everything is fine. You can get to the end. I claim that this was the only change of a star into opening bracket. Now what happens when you move from the right? And you can not think about this blue thing because it will not affect me. Right now I'm starting from this level, or actually I can even draw a new thing like that. Because here I got below 0, because looking from right, this is bad for me. it means my balance got below 0. It cannot be paired with anything. So if I just applied draw everything, it's down, 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 and here up, up, and down. This is the same shape, of course. Could be, I could just say that I'm drawing a line here, but I wanted a new drawing. And here, when I try to get below 0, I already say take any star that already happened. If there were no stars, then, or you are out of stars, then return false. But here I can take, for example, this one or this one, doesn't matter. Just when here, this is a bad bracket for me, I need to pair up with something from the right that I already considered. So there's some balance, number of stars waiting for me. So any of them I change into opening brackets to pair with this one. Then it shifts this graph by 1. Then everything is repeated, just like before. And so on. Now here we again go to -1, and it's this one. Then I will change this star into, let's say, opening bracket, looking from the right. The same will happen here, so maybe this star will be changed to that, and that's it. Like from that moment, balance will be forever non-negative. And this star was not used, this star was not used. And the final look of this red sequence will be, I think, 3 fake blue things. And then the graph looks like before. It touches 0, but never goes below 0. If I remove the previous thing, that's it. If you really want me to cover this problem very well and maybe similar ones, to generally make a lecture on bracket sequences, problems like this, often the solution involves such graphs of +1, -1, let me know in the comments, and maybe after the April challenge I will do that. But I planned to first cover graphs. I hope you enjoyed that. Leave a like and let me know in the comments what you think about this. I hope you enjoyed this, even though I struggled through most of the video. Bye.